They're for confrontation with Israel and against peace. Everything emanating from the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority to Hamas displays a clear case of incitement and anti-Semitism against the Jewish state. At a recent Fatah event, they included a children's song with a message that Palestinian children are created so that their blood will be fertilizer to saturate the land. That's the sick, inflammatory language that they're using today. And let me remind you, this is the moderate Fatah, Palestinian Authority. It's not Islamic Jihad and it's not Hamas. Kids are being conditioned today to be martyrs and suicide bombers by our so-called negotiating partners. How is that conditioning their people for peace? It's not. And why hasn't a caring world been as shocked by this as it has by somebody building an extension to his house in Ariel? Incitement is rampant in the Palestinian Authority. It conditions their people from children to adulthood to hate and kill Jews. The Palestinian Mufti of Jerusalem, Muhammad Hussein, that's him, gave a speech at yet another Fatah event 3 weeks ago. It was broadcast on official Palestinian TV, and this religious leader said loudly and publicly, "Kill Jews." Quoting from a notorious hadith that's included in my book, because it's part of the Hamas Charter, Article 7, he said, "The time will come when the Muslims will go out and kill the Jews, until the Jews will hide behind the trees and the rocks. And the trees and the rocks will shout out, 'O Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, come out and kill him.'" Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Palestinian Authority, our peace partner, today. World governments and the media, however, were totally silent when religious representatives of the Palestinian Authority give a call to kill Jews. It spoils the image they want to project, you see. We witnessed a total lack of concern at the anti-Semitic incitements to kill Jews from those supporting the Palestinians. Isn't that strange? Or maybe it's not. At the last United Nations General Assembly, Iran's Ahmadinejad stood at the podium of the United Nations and gave a prayer to Allah. He wished the Mahdi good health and a speedy return to earth. He called for the end of days and Armageddon. He called to death to the Jews and for Israel. At the end of the speech, the delegates remained in the hall, gave him a nice hearty round of applause, and the media said nothing. What would have happened had Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, followed him to the podium and gave a prayer to God, calling for genocide against the Muslims? It might have made BBC News. But when Muslim leaders and heads of state call for the extermination of Jews and Israel, it's boring, not worth writing about. And yet too many people, including South African archbishops, and today the South Africa Council of Christians, call us the racists. Why I mention the United Nations? Because at the same assembly, Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority got up and reminded the world that Palestine, the Holy Land, holy to Muslims and Christians. Hello, Mr. Abbas, where were the Jews? For him, the Jews don't exist. We never had a history, we don't belong, we were never there. Total denial. Jews have zero rights to sovereignty and self-determination in any of the land. Israel for them is an Islamic Arab Palestine. And anything given to them is simply a station on the way to total victory, the final solution of the Jewish problem in the Middle East. Jews are fine wandering the world as rootless minority citizens in strange land. There's no such thing as a Jewish people. They are religion only, and they should be sent back to that status and kept there. That doesn't make me the racist. It makes them the racist. In the last Palestinian elections in 2005, Hamas won the election with a majority of 63%. They're saying there's going to be a new election later this year. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got news for you. According to all polls, the Hamas will win the next Palestinian election by 68%. And if they succeed, as they look like doing, in reaching agreement with the new Egyptian government, the Muslim Brotherhood, their majority will go up even further. In the Middle East today, we have an Islamic Egypt. We have the Muslim Brotherhood in the Gaza Strip, Hamas. We have Hezbollah over our northern border ruling Lebanon. Can anybody tell me who will be ruling Syria at the end of this year? Or will be ruling Jordan next year? With this uncertain, dangerous future, is this a time to pressure Israel to go back to 1967 borders? But the war of Israel isn't only military and national security. We're in a war of delegitimization. This war can be as deadly and as much an existential threat to Israel as rockets and suicide bombers. Ehud Barak and others have called the danger of legitimization a real strategic and existential threat to the state of Israel. That's why I have initiated an international conference on countering delegitimization, which is being organized by the Strategic Dialogue Center in Israel and will take place at the Netanya Academic College in Israel at Pesach on April the 16th. And if any of you intend to be in Israel for Passover, this is one event you don't want to miss. And if you're going to be there, you want to be there, I would suggest you contact me because places are strictly limited. Despite the recent failure of the Desmond Tutu Russell Tribunal in Cape Town, hatred is coming to a campus near you. When the Israel apartheid circus rides into town, the Israel Apartheid Week is one of the activities organized by the BDS movement. You know who the BDS movement is? That's the Boycott, Divestment and Sanction organization that has gone global. They call it the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions. I call it the Bias, Discrimination and Slander organization. Why is it that this BDS movement is totally unconcerned about Arab victims when the oppressors are Arab, or Muslim victims when the oppressors are Muslims, or even Palestinians, if they love them so much, when they are victims and the oppressors are the Arab Muslim countries? Nothing. Is Israel, and only Israel, worth a week, not a day? It's the only country that merits a week of hate events. All the carnage that's going on in the Middle East and Africa goes ignored. It's only Israel, who would like nothing more to achieve peace with our neighbours and are willing to make painful sacrifices to achieve that peace, that we are the victim of such an exaggerated and extremist hatred. We should drive a wedge between these extremists and the broad middle ground of reasonable and open-minded public opinion by highlighting the lies and fraud of what they really stand for, which is not peace and mutual recognition, This is why it's so important for you to get involved in our action plan